Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to some more Borderlands. You're not here to watch me play, though. You're here to listen to me ramble, because I want to. So, I wanted to ramble a little about, it kind of just like the last one. It's just something I saw. In this particular case, there was an article released from IGN about how they are going to handle reviews when revisiting games. So basically the idea behind that is that when a game first comes out, we'll take World of Warcraft for example. That's a good one. Actually, we'll just use the one they use. I think they mentioned League of Legends. You know, they review it, they give it a score, they talk about it. But the problem is that League of Legends is, one, going to be out for a while, something like that, or World of Warcraft, for example. And there are going to be expansions. There are going to be rules changes, mechanics changes, environments, enemies, boss encounters, all of that changes. These are ever-expanding games. So it is their belief, and I can kind of understand this, that you might need to actually revisit a game and talk about it some more now that all these changes have happened, and give it a different score. I kind of understand this, and I kind of don't at the same time, but that's not the real issue that I wanted to talk about. What really bothers me is that the focus in this not only seems to be about, getting impressions of something, so, stating how your impressions of League of Legends have changed from one review to the next, but changing the score. Changing the overall, initially we gave it a 4.9 because we didn't like it, but now that they've made all these changes, we're going to give it a 7.3. And I hate that. I hate scores, and that's kind of what I want to talk to you about for a second. I work for two different websites where I review everything from comic books, sometimes movies, and video games. And I, at both sites, had the exact same experience where I wanted to review something, and they were like, well, can you give it a score? I didn't want to do that. Because to me, scores are ridiculous. They're retarded. They're stupid. I hate them. And I'm going to explain why. Saying that something is a 2 out of 5 or an 8 out of 10, or heaven forbid, one of the sites I write for does the 10 scale, but then it's like a 1.3 and a 7.2, and so you have to break it down even further. And they give you like a thing to say what the general 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 should look like. But here's the problem: if you've ever tried to seriously review something, you know that sometimes it can be difficult to sit down and put an exact score on it, because there are things that games do well and there are things that games do poorly. And sometimes, even when a game does a lot of stuff poorly, you still like the game. So, if you just go and look at my score, if you just see that I gave something a 3 out of 5, that's really not important. What you need to be looking at, dear listener, is what I actually said about the game. What I liked, what I didn't like, what mechanics I thought worked, what didn't work. Did I ever get so annoyed by something that I had to put the controller down in the game? Or is the game very repetitive? I like Dynasty Warriors. I really enjoy, especially the older Dynasty Warriors games. But those aren't for everybody. They are some of the most repetitive games out there. Same thing with, I'm a big fan of the WWE games. Well, I might give it a 4.5 or a 9.5, but if you're not a wrestling fan, it's certainly not for you. Or, on the flip side, maybe it's that good that even though you don't like wrestling, but you like sports games or fighting games or something, that you can get into it. I've seen that happen before. But the big thing here is that I think the score does not do it justice. And I'm not the only one that feels this way. I've had one of the sites, I've even had a guy agree with me and say, no, you're right, it's ridiculous, you shouldn't have to put scores in, there should be a better way. However, and he is not wrong, I actually asked around after he told me this. I wanted to make sure. So I asked some friends, and I asked just some kind of random people that I barely knew, just to make sure that we were all on the same page. He told me that a lot of people will go read one review on a site, but then go to other sites just to see the score, just to see that point. And page views are important when you're dealing with websites and articles and all that. And sometimes people will, they'll read the review on IGN, but then they'll want to know, what everybody else gave it. So they'll go to one of the websites I write for.
And I'll get you a free car.
And that's kind of sucky. That's just, I know people don't have time to read every review, and you're not going to want to do that. But if you click on my reviews of anything, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I didn't want to put that score there. But I put it there because they asked me to, and I try to, be a team player. But also, there are some things that I want to show even further. Hey, I give this a good score because I did like it. But you don't need that. There's never ever going to be a review that I write that you will need to look at the score, because I will tell you what I think about it. I will tell you if I think you should play it, if it's worth your money. So there is nothing that you will ever need to actually see the score. By the time you get to the bottom part of the article, you will pretty much be able to guess what kind of score I was going to give something. In the rare case that I like something but it was extremely bad, I will sometimes giving it a little bit of a joking score. Every now and then I'll give something that's really bad, at least like a 5 or something, or a 2.5 in the case of a 1 through 5 scale. But I even say somewhere in the review, it's because I thought it was funny. I thought it was worth, thought it was worth making kind of a joke about it. But anyway, I think that's unfortunately something that people are really focused on, and they should be a lot less focused on. Don't look at the scores. I just did a review for The Last of Us, and to be honest, I loved it. It was amazing, and I gave it a really good score, but I almost forgot to even put the score up there because I felt like, I wanted to give it a 5, but I'm kind of saving that 5 for something that just, blows my socks off. I didn't write the review for Bioshock Infinite, but if I had, that might have been my first 5. I don't know. Well, anyway, I wanted to get that out because that's something that annoys me. I don't like scores, if you need, if I write a review and you ever feel that I didn't give you enough detail about, the game or how it came across, I'll probably gladly sit there and write you another 500 words on it. But the truth is that the score at the end of the day is just me going, God, I have to give this thing some sort of score because that's what the masses want to see. And it's very misleading, and it's just not worth it. It's really not. But speaking of reviewing stuff, and I'm not going to say what thing because the article's not out yet, but I get a lot of art books for video games in, and usually these books are pretty good. But I finally got one that was just really boring. Like it was a really well done book as far as the actual material and putting things in there, but it didn't really do anything to actually help sell the game, in my opinion. And the reason I bring this up is because I've said this for a while now, but no one listens to me. That's okay. Not every game needs an art book. Not every game needs a toy line. Not every game needs to advertise in some form of merchandising outside of the video game world. One, I think that's what's making some of these AAA games cost even more. Because, you know, games cost a lot to make already, but advertising is lately heavily becoming one of the things that's costing it the most, and this falls under that. So stop it with the art books. Stop it with the bobblehead toys. I don't want a bobblehead Master Chief. I have no use for that. I know somebody out there does, but make that like a specialty item. You know, make those rare. They're not going to make their money enough to really warrant all of that. So, but the last thing I want to talk about today is there was a trailer released for the Cold Heart DLC, which is for Batman Arkham Origins. It is the Mr. Freeze DLC, and the trailer looks great. It's short, it's very brief, but you know, it looks great, and part of the reason it looks great is because it looks like they're modeling most of the story off of the Batman the Animated Series episode where he, I believe it's his first appearance in there. Which I love that show. If you've never seen Batman the Animated Series, you're doing it wrong. But I'm not gonna get it. I had planned on getting the DLC, and it looks great. But this is why I'm not gonna get it. And I'm not saying I'm never gonna get it. I'm saying I'm not gonna get it when it comes out, and I'm gonna wait a while because Warner Brothers Montreal is who did this one. It's not Rocksteady. Rocksteady did Arkham Origins and Arkham Asylum, but Warner Brothers Montreal, they decided that it was more important to push out all this DLC instead of actually fixing some of the bugs in the game. Now, I don't know this for sure. When I played the game, it was still buggy. There was still some bugs. But most of them were kind of funny or temporary, or, you know, not being able to get out of a room. Stuff that was, you know, fixable. But there were a lot of game-breaking glitches in the game. And from what I've read, there are still a couple of them. They're just not the ones that everyone's going to fall into. Like, one of the original ones was there was a panel that you tried to hack, and it would just freeze the game. You couldn't get out of it. But so they took care of a lot of the big ones, but there are still glitches. And I know that we live, you know, in a time now where game developers really feel that, oh, well, if it's not done, we can fix it all, or we can patch it in later. I hate that. I hate that so much. And, you know, you can say what you like, but I really feel that if you're going to ship something out, it should be done, you know? Or at least if you're going to do something kind of like what Diablo 3 did, you tell people, hey, it's shipping, but it's not shipping with this feature. Well, now I know that if I wanted to play it mainly for that feature, not to buy your game. But even then, I still think something like that, they should have just taken their time, pushed it back, and, you know, fixed it, or maybe lowered the price or something to show that they were willing to work with us. But anyway, that's really all I wanted to say this time around, and just, you know, I don't know how many of these little rambling sessions I'm going to do, but, you know, whenever I got something to get off my chest or see something I want to talk about that I don't get to cover in either my podcast or the two podcasts I do. I do the Dead Air podcast, and I'm also doing a podcast with a friend called Comics and Controllers, where we talk about video games and comics, as the name may imply. Also, if you ever want to chat with me about any of this stuff, just follow me on Twitter. It's my name, Stephen, Stephen Wilds, Wilds, at Stephen Wilds. I'm on Facebook. Shouldn't be too hard to find on there. It's like / Stephen Wilds.33 or something like that. I don't know, stupid Facebook. But anyway, so that's advertising, and I'm gonna go play some more Borderlands because I want to get up to the new DLCs I bought for it. So you guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.